The decision by the United States to allow Ukraine to use long-range American missiles on Russian territory marks a significant turning point in the ongoing war. While the precise terms of this agreement remain undisclosed, the Kremlin has already accused President Biden of adding fuel to the fire and warned of escalating international tensions. This controversial move comes against the backdrop of a volatile geopolitical landscape, with North Korean troops reportedly joining forces with Russia and mounting Western skepticism about the long-term feasibility of Ukraine's resistance. Why now? The shift in U.S. strategy. President Biden's reversal on this issue has sparked intense debate. Analysts point to a combination of strategic calculations and political considerations. North Korean troop deployment. Reports of more than 10,000 North Korean soldiers bolstering Russian forces have alarmed Western nations. This development underscores the global dimensions of the conflict, where alliances extend far beyond Ukraine's borders. Impending U.S. leadership change. With Donald Trump poised to return to the White House, his promise to end the war quickly has raised fears that any resolution might favor Russia. By empowering Ukraine now, Biden aims to strengthen Kyiv's position in potential peace negotiations. The role of long-range missiles. Ukraine's use of U.S.-supplied ATACMS, Army Tactical Missile System, represents a tactical escalation. These precision-guided missiles, capable of striking targets up to 200 miles away, can disrupt critical Russian supply lines and infrastructure. Ukrainian officials, such as Colonel Maxim Balagura, argue that targeting Russia's ammunition depots and air capabilities could significantly weaken Moscow's offensive. However, this move is fraught with risks. Potential for direct confrontation. Russian President Vladimir Putin has suggested that such actions could bring the U.S. and Russia into direct conflict, raising the specter of a broader war. Global security concerns. Russian lawmakers have warned that attacks on Russian soil could provoke World War III, echoing fears of uncontrollable escalation. Western allies, united, yet divided. The decision has placed pressure on other Western nations to clarify their positions. In the UK, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak has remained non-committal about allowing Ukraine to use British-supplied Storm Shadow missiles for similar purposes. Opposition leader Keir Starmer has emphasized the need to double down on support for Ukraine but stopped short of endorsing such actions. Germany, too, has faced criticism. Chancellor Olaf Scholz has engaged in talks with Putin, a move President Zelenskyy condemned as counterproductive. Meanwhile, Berlin has resisted calls to send its long-range Taurus missiles to Ukraine, further exposing divisions within the Western alliance. The human toll and strategic stakes. As the war approaches its 1,000th day, the toll on Ukraine remains devastating. Russian strikes have continued to claim civilian lives, with deadly glide bomb attacks on residential areas leaving scenes of destruction and heartbreak. Yet, Ukraine's resilience is evident. Recent incursions into Russian-held territory demonstrate Kyiv's determination to maintain pressure on Moscow. The stakes in this conflict extend beyond territorial disputes. Territorial integrity. A central issue in any peace talks will be the amount of land Russia retains and the sovereignty Ukraine can exercise post-conflict. Military capability. There are fears that Ukraine could be pressured to disarm as part of a settlement, leaving it vulnerable to future aggression. Sanctions and financial fronts. Western nations are also leveraging economic measures to weaken Russia's position. The UK, for example, has announced sanctions targeting Iran, a key supplier of ballistic missiles to Russia. These measures aim to stifle the industrial complex sustaining Moscow's war machine. A high-stakes gamble. The decision to escalate military support for Ukraine is a calculated gamble by President Biden and his allies. By providing advanced weaponry now, they hope to strengthen Ukraine's negotiating position and prevent Russia from dictating terms. However, this strategy carries immense risks, including the possibility of a direct U.S.-Russia confrontation or a wider regional war involving North Korea and Iran. Looking ahead, the role of peace talks. As political transitions loom in the U.S. and elsewhere, the focus may soon shift from battlefield dynamics to diplomatic negotiations. The questions that remain are daunting. How much territory will Ukraine retain? What level of independence and security guarantees will Kyiv achieve? These decisions will shape the future not just of Ukraine but of the global order. For now, the conflict remains at a critical juncture, with the actions of world leaders over the coming weeks set to determine its course. Final thoughts. The war in Ukraine underscores the interconnectedness of modern geopolitics, where regional conflicts have global repercussions. While the decision to escalate military aid reflects a commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty, it also highlights the challenges of balancing support for an ally with the need to avoid global escalation. The world watches as this high-stakes chapter unfolds, hoping for a resolution that upholds justice and peace without igniting further chaos. The geopolitical landscape of the Russo-Ukrainian War witnessed a seismic shift as U.S. President Joe Biden reportedly authorized Ukraine to strike Russian territory using American long-range Army tactical missile systems, ATACMS. While official confirmation from the White House and Pentagon is pending, this unprecedented move has sparked both hope and alarm across international fronts. Months of deliberation lead to a bold decision. The decision to approve the use of ATACMS did not come lightly. For over 2 years, the U.S. resisted transferring these powerful weapons to Ukraine, citing concerns about escalating the war and depleting domestic stockpiles. Additionally, the complexity of producing the missiles contributed to the delay. However, President Biden reversed this stance in February, allowing Ukraine to use these missiles within its borders. The missiles were delivered in April and now, reportedly, their use has been extended to Russian territory. This development follows months of lobbying by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, who emphasized the strategic necessity of such weapons to break through Russian defenses and regain momentum. Zelenskyy framed the inclusion of long-range missile capabilities as essential to his victory plan. Missiles will speak for themselves, Zelenskyy remarked in response to media speculation, signaling Ukraine's readiness to act decisively. International reactions, divided perspectives, Russia's warning and escalation fears. Predictably, Moscow condemned the move. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov accused Washington of provoking further escalation, while President Vladimir Putin reiterated his warning of nuclear retaliation if conventional missile strikes targeted Russia. This stark rhetoric underscores the precariousness of the decision, allies and their reluctance. The U.S. decision could catalyze similar policy shifts among its allies. The U.K., which supplied Ukraine with Storm Shadow missiles in 2023, has so far refrained from allowing strikes on Russian soil. However, Biden's move might push Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer to authorize broader use, with Shadow Defense Secretary James Cartledge urging the UK to follow America's lead. Germany, on the other hand, remains steadfast in its refusal to provide Taurus long-range cruise missiles to Ukraine. Chancellor Olaf Scholz's administration has emphasized the risks of exacerbating tensions. Trump and domestic critics. Domestically, reactions have been mixed. Former President Donald Trump has yet to comment directly, but his son, Donald Trump Jr., criticized the move, suggesting it risked triggering a global conflict. Echoing long-standing skepticism of U.S. military interventions, he accused the military-industrial complex of seeking to provoke World War III. Potential game-changer on the front lines. Experts anticipate significant changes on the battlefield if Ukraine deploys these missiles effectively. The Economist's defense editor, Shashank Joshi, noted that the precision and range of ATACMS could disrupt Russian supply lines, command centers, and critical infrastructure far from the immediate front lines. This comes at a crucial juncture in the war. As Ukraine grapples with Russia's recent deployment of 50,000 troops to the Kursk region and an influx of North Korean reinforcements, the ATACMS may offer a strategic counterbalance. However, the conflict's escalation risks remain high, particularly given Russia's recent intensification of attacks. The 1,000th day of war, a sobering milestone. On the same day Biden's reported authorization became public, Russia launched its most extensive assault on Ukraine in 3 months, targeting the nation's energy grid. Over 120 missiles and 90 drones struck civilian and energy infrastructure, killing 4 people and injuring 6, including children. This attack marks the war's 1,000th day, a grim milestone underscoring the human and infrastructural toll of the conflict. For Ukraine, long-range missiles represent not just a tactical upgrade but a symbol of hope for altering the course of the war. Strategic and ethical implications. Biden's decision raises complex questions about the ethical and strategic dimensions of the war. On one hand, proponents argue it demonstrates the West's commitment to Ukraine's sovereignty. On the other, critics warn of unpredictable consequences, including the possibility of escalating into a broader NATO-Russia conflict. Furthermore, the decision reflects a delicate balancing act for Biden. As he seeks to bolster Ukraine's defense without directly involving U.S. forces, the move underscores America's calculated yet risky strategy in the face of an unpredictable adversary. What lies ahead? As the international community watches closely, the authorization of ATACMS marks a turning point in the conflict. Whether this decision will accelerate Ukraine's path to victory or trigger unforeseen repercussions remains uncertain. However, it undeniably underscores the evolving dynamics of the war, with the stakes higher than ever for all parties involved. For Ukraine, these missiles represent a new opportunity to turn the tide. For the world, they signify the unpredictable and increasingly perilous trajectory of modern warfare. As Zelenskyy aptly stated, missiles will speak for themselves, and their echoes may shape the future of this conflict.